Hey, welcome to Framework. This is John, and this is the second half of the Big Lebowski conversation. It was too long for one episode, so here's the second half. If you recall, we were at the point where, Bunny Lebowski's been kidnapped, and they've gotten the dude to assist in the money drop. But first, they're going to stop by the bowling alley. All right, here we go.
It proves we can't ever really know what's going on.
Appearances can be deceptive.
Tom, I was just speculating about a hypothesis. I know I don't know nothing.
Uncertainty. That is appropriate for matters in this world.
There, we're in a tight spot.
All right. So now we left the Big Lebowski's mansion again. I think now we go back to the bowling alley.
This is Jesus.
Meet the Jesus. Yes. Mm-hmm. And then we have to meet the Jesus before we get around to like them actually talking about they have hired the dude to do the handoff of the ransom money for the supposed kidnapping plot because they want him to identify whether it's the rug peers that did the kidnapping.
Of course.
And he's the one who can do that. Which is a pretty neat little, I think, motivation for looping the dude into this whole plot. But
yeah, as it turns out, yes, very clever.
We meet the Jesus. We could talk about the Jesus or whatever. I mean, I suppose this is another counterpoint of masculinity. These hypersexualized, overly aggressive, sexualized threats of sodomizing people in the bowling lanes completely inappropriately at all times.
And he's a sex offender. Don't forget.
Yeah.
The insert shots of him walking around telling people that he's a sex offender.
Yeah, and that's such a funny, a counterpoint to you introduce this character as almost this intimidating, who is this guy that's
Zorro.
It really is. You're and then it cuts to him having to go door to door.
You put all that effort
so quickly. Yeah.
All that effort into introducing him as this larger than life figure 30 seconds ago, and you're already completely undercutting it. That's sort of the genius of that. And then, of course, the real genius is the insert shot of him and Liam shining their bowling balls in the middle of the two this conversation. God, that's one of my favorite moments of just movies.
This is great. This character, I love this because this is a guy you could completely lift out of the film. Absolutely. And he's just there for flavor text, essentially. And man, is it great. Man, it's you can base an entire film off of this guy, as it turns out. Maybe it's an awful film, but it can be done because he is that striking and that memorable in about 5 minutes of screen time in this film. This is what you get by having a Turturro, just in your staple of actors.
Yeah, one reason I refuse to watch the Jesus movie is because I read in the summary that it established that he wasn't actually a sex offender. He was framed or, it was a false, whatever, conviction. And I'm well, on the one hand, I guess that's what you have to do if you're going to make him the protagonist of your comedy movie. On the other hand, well, fuck that. There's not that much Lebowski lore to get attached to, but
I could make the argument that them being wrong about that, and just the wrong information being out there, and sort of that Walter is an unreliable narrator is all to the good. And
that's the best argument for it. You're right.
That's fine. It's just kind of what you hear, what you believe becomes what matters, I guess, and that's how he's defined in this film.
Yeah. Okay. So after we meet the Jesus and establish that, the dude suggests to Walter that she probably kidnapped herself. Just to squeeze more money out of her miserly husband. And Walter immediately takes that as fact and gets very upset about it. And now that is just a nugget of truth for him that he cannot be dissuaded from. And so we go from there to, I believe the dude is now back laying on the rug, smoking a joint, listening to a Walkman with a recording of the Venice Beach League bowling finals from 1987 on side A, and side B is Bob. So I guess that's he taped over half of a Dylan tape. I don't know. But he sort of comes to vaguely and sees Maud Lebowski and her two like assistants, aides to camp that are
goons.
in
She's
their
got
like
goons. Why not?
yeah, but they're like
Goons, yeah.
you don't think of goons as in denim short shorts and short like tight.
Maud's
skin
goons
tight
would
shorts.
be.
Yes, of course they would be. So they sock him on the jaw. He has one of the dream sequences. Honestly, I find the dream sequences to be the parts of this movie that I can skip upon rewatching.
What? Absurd.
The Coens love them, but I just want to get back to the dude trying to to explain things to people.
The needle drops alone, man. This is some of the best, one of the best chosen soundtracks. I feel of the '90s, which is saying a lot. I know, but like. This is great. This is the way the music is used in this film is like how they do it. And, this is an inspiration on many things to come. Like Guardians of the Galaxy uses music in the way these do. And, it's, and it's a really well chosen, deep cut list of songs,
For this dream sequence, it's The Man in Me by Bob Dylan. Which
is now a Big Lebowski song for me. I can't hear it without thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also one of the like core planks of the, this is all about masculinity reading. Because that's very straightforward. I believe when he wakes up from being knocked out, it is playing faintly over the headphones. So I guess it is diegetic also that as he's having this dream, it's flipped over to the. Do you think they flipped over the tape in the Dube's Walkman for him as they after they rolled up the rug to side B?
I think that the bowling league just ran out of his tape of full Dylan, probably.
Okay,
I guess.
Yeah. So he wakes up and the cell, the beeper that the Big Lebowski gave him is going off. So it's time to do the handoff, right? So he takes Walter with him. Big mistake, obviously.
Why?
I think the dude wanted a little bit of backup, and this is one thing being good friends with Walter is good for, is that if there is going to be a bar fight or anything slightly dangerous, Walter will throw himself on the grenade.
Well, yeah, as it turns out, I guess, if you want, I mean, he proves pretty well how poor a choice he is for this thing, I guess. He fucks this up completely. I mean, it's one of the fun twists of the film that, that it's all fake, of course, but because he's decided that this woman is lying, that he's never met and has no context of knowing, he fucks the whole thing up about as hard as he could. And it's all it all reads kind of as sublimated hatred for his wife that he can't actually do himself. This is all kind of there, but not really highlighted or pointed at, but it's very apparent in Goodman's performance. This is great character work. Yeah.
We didn't even mention in all our Walter and Goodman talk that he is a devoted converted Jew because he converted when he married his ex-wife and remains completely committed to the Jewish faith.
This is excellent backstory, by the way. This is all stuff that you really need and want.
And is watching her dog while her and her new husband go on.
On a Hawaiian vacation.
Yeah. It's a show dog. You can't board it. Yes,
it has papers.
Yes, he throws out a fake bag of money that's full of his dirty underwear. Honestly, it's like, why do you even need to do the job if you're just going to keep the money and pretend you did it? Like, why did you do any of this?
Why put your DNA in if it's dirty underwear? I'm assuming there's a.
I think one of the good things about this being a weirdly recent period piece is that we don't have to worry about DNA or anything in 1991. That CSI has not come along yet.
Oh, that's right. It is set in 91. I always forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. During our trouble with Saddam over there.
Yeah.
He explains the plan to the dude, and the dude's not having it, and whatever. And then, he gets the call from the nihilists. But I guess we don't know it's them yet. But you tell him they're supposed to throw it up.
Peter Stormare.
No, throw this bag out the window. No. And his immediate response of, "We can't do that, dude. It fucks up the plan." We'll call him up and tell him about it, Walter. It's so simple.
That doesn't work for us. Yeah.
Yeah. So he tries to roll out of the car with his Uzi in tow to circle around and grab one of the kidnappers to beat the location of Buddy Lebowski out of him. Goes very poorly. The gun goes off and shoots out the dude's tires. The first of, he said it's the lot of the hard-boiled detective to take a lot of beatings from random goons. The dude's car is really his portrait of Dorian Gray that takes a lot of the beatings for him. In this movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. This is everything falling apart, essentially. As it turns out, it isn't. But it seems at the time we're getting into a disaster situation early, and he has no idea how to resolve this after.
Yes.
He's got that phone he's carrying around where they keep calling him to ask him what happened and how the thing went, and he just kind of locks up and just, I just won't answer it.
Yes, we've reached the part on our Coen bingo card where we're dodging calls from somebody that is owed money, basically.
Yeah, wow. You brought this up, and I was like, oh, okay, I watched that. It's been in every single one.
Yes. Well, at least Miller's Crossing, Fargo. I forget what the version of it in Hudsucker was. But maybe it was just people hounding him for his new idea. But I think that is sort of a writerly anxiety of being on assignment and having people breathing down your neck that you don't know how to satisfy.
I mean, Barton Fink, that's like the whole movie. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Walter's completely unperturbed by this, but they have left the $1 million in the dude's unlocked car while they go bowling.
Yeah.
And so when they come out of the bowling alley, the dude's car has been stolen, and the phone is still ringing, and continues to ring after the dude has walked home and is now sitting in his living room with the police, reporting his car stolen. And I mean, another just great scene that I love.
Separate incidents. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Explaining that, what did the briefcase have in it? Papers, business papers,
documents.
What do you do for work? I'm unemployed. And then, of course, his answering machine rings, and it's Maud Lebowski explaining that I need to talk to you. I'm the one who took your rug. And the police officer saying, that's the button on the scene. Well, it looks like we can close the file on that one. Love that one.
The other cop is Richard Gant.
Yes,
this is for Chris Prentice, I guess. That's
great character actor.
Don King stand-in from Rocky V, of course. Yeah,
yes, of course.
He's here for one line here. All the credence, and that's it.
Yeah, but now this takes us to Maud Lebowski. Dan, do you want to try to explain Maud Lebowski to us?
Maud Lebowski, a visual experimental artist who, like many visual experimental artists, comes from a tremendous amount of money that allows her to have this giant thing. If you've ever taken an
artist loft.
Yeah, an artist loft. I read that she was based on, there was a character or artist that she was kind of based on as well as like Yoko Ono. But she's Lebowski's daughter, who really she inherited all the money and then has all the money.
Yeah, because it was on the mom's side, and the mom is gone, left it to the daughter, who, well, we don't really know that yet, I guess, that dad has no money of his own. Yeah, but that's the deal. Yeah, independently family wealth. So she can do these fucking flying through the air nude art projects.
Yeah, bizarre.
Exclusively. Yeah.
Yes, and she gives him the number of a doctor she wants him to see. About
a good man and thorough.
About his job. Yes, a good man and thorough. And also, I think this is where she uses the phrase in the parlance of our times, which it'll repurpose later.
She's so fucking good in this. Like I could say that about everybody, but man, the trill she puts on every single one of her lines. She's really keyed in on this, and just this sort of mid-Atlantic formalism that they enjoy so much. It's just it's really well deployed here. She's acing it, and all the turns of phrase, the way like the thing about vaginas and how men won't drop an eye to talk about their Grink or their Johnson, and just the flick of her eyes to the left. It's amazing. Control.
And I love how they don't have to establish for us ever, like with the dialogue, that her mannerisms, her accent are an affectation.
Yeah, well, certainly.
Right.
She did like a semester abroad in, Eton on Thames or wherever, and came back with this accent that's like not even quite British, but that's just sort of inherent in the character, I feel like. And Julia Moore, never misses. It feels like every time I rewatch this movie, I think, you know what, she might be the weak link of this movie, that I don't know if I love this character that much, or maybe she's a little miscast. And then there's the scene later where they're talking about the Lebowski overachievers, and she does the sort of sing-songy, yes, the Lebowski urban achievers, and proud we are of all of them. That one line reading just locks me back in. I'm like, you know what? You're great.
Oh no, I love her in this. I think she's wonderful. I wish she was in more Coen brother movies.
I wish she was in more movies generally. She's
quite prolific, but yes, like this kind of thing really suits her. Like they found Tilda Swinton later, and she's wonderful. But I'm kind of like, well, maybe one of those roles could have been Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore is sort of like a Tilda Swinton who is human.
Yeah,
that's sort of her type.
Sure. Yes. And she's just well suited to the milieu and to the dialogue. This is another person they write incredibly well for. All the things that she's able to achieve, like she gets handed just a plate of exposition in this scene, and with talking about the porns and the porno films, the Jackie Treehorn, and even just and the way she brings it all up. Do you enjoy sex, Mr. Lebowski? The physical act of love. Like
coitus.
Yeah. And the myth about feminism is we don't enjoy sex, but we find it to be what is it? A natural
zesty enterprise.
Fucking great.
Turns of phrase are incredible.
Yeah.
She offers him now more money than the Big Lebowski did to recover the money. I'm not trying to. How does the dude think he's going to do this?
That I don't know. I don't know why he's like, yes, I could do that. I still don't quite get why he believes he can do that.
Other than he's attracted to her, I guess. But
probably
even that, it's a thing you have a hard time imagining the dude like actively acting on.
I mean, I guess he's already in the flow, and he believes he can do it, so he probably can. I guess is the logic.
Yeah. So okay, and then when he's driving out of he doesn't go right to the doctor because she scolds him about that later, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where do we go back to the bowling alley now?
Let's see.
We've done that for a while.
Yes, I think we're getting into.
Oh no! Okay. He's driving the car and he sees Polito following him in the Beetle.
Sure.
And tries to flick the roach out the closed window.
Well, wonderful. Yeah.
Oh no! Wait.
That's a little later. I think.
He has to get his car back first.
Of course. Yeah. Well, he gets the call. He gets the call from the cops while he's at the bowling alley. He has the scene with the stranger at the bar.
No, he's sitting in the tub. Happens. Okay, no, he's sitting in the tub when he gets the calls from the cops. Smoking a joint, listening to whale sounds, and
Jesus.
And he's as they're saying, like, we found your car. He's going far out, man. And that's when the nihilist bust in with the marmot.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
And the cricket bat, of course, and drop the marmot in the tub with him as that's their most like menacing act overall. I guess he smashes.
And we cut off your Johnson. We cut off your Johnson.
And
then he goes bowling. Then he goes bowling.
Well, he goes in there to the car lot and has the incredible cop who's laughing about the idea of
leads. We're turning into the quoting thing. I got to stop. Okay.
Yes,
it's so fun. Yeah, we got a whole team of guys
in shifts.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess as he's driving out of there is where now his driver's side door doesn't open. And maybe the window doesn't roll down, is why he's unsuccessful about flicking the joint into the window, and it falls in his lap, and he has to dump the beer on his lap as he's smoking and drinking as he drives, of course, and runs into a dumpster. And as he's he
finds the homework.
Yes, that's it. He has to move the other side of the car to go out the passenger side, and that's when he moves aside and finds the homework as he's looking for his joint. And that brings us to Larry Sellers, and I guess maybe the other most iconic scene in this movie, right?
Yeah. We're all a big fan of your work.
Yeah, that is another
this guy in an iron lung,
Oh yeah, the man in the iron lung is another, I think, Coen staple. The decrepit old man, like the power broker that turns out to be some incredibly decrepit old man in a back room.
Yeah.
Sure.
And what was the show that he wrote? He wrote 110
Branded.
episodes, the bulk of the series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, Branded was a real show.
I did not realize that until this week.
Yeah. It was a real show. And the premise was, it doesn't matter what the show was about. It was a Western show. Yeah. There were not 156 episodes of Branded. Not even close. Let's see here. I'm going to find it. But yeah, it's like maybe 60 episodes. It ran for 2 seasons. So this actually places us in a second universe here. We're not in our LA.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, about 60 episodes, exactly right. So
I mean, and this also, like, going back, speaking of the LA thing, and this feels like a very real. Whereas, like, some movies about LA, it's like, oh, you interact with all these people and they're all stars and they're all this stuff. Whereas, like, LA
Right.
is actually full of working people who just happen to work in movies. They aren't all like superstars. They might have just written for some random show, or they, were a technician for something. But it is like this huge industry. So I feel like it is likely that the people you interact with have some small piece of
Have IMDb credits.
but they don't have to be like, oh, this guy was the star of some show, or he was some, fading actor or something like that. He's just, he worked in the industry.
He
and that
doesn't
makes
live-
sense that he would like.
He doesn't have an estate next to Jackie Treehorn in Malibu. He's got this bungalow. It's more like the dude's place. And so, of course, they roll up there thinking that this kid stole the car and has the $1 million ransom money that was left in it. And they see a brand new cherry red Corvette parked out in front of his house. So they think, oh man, he's definitely started spending the money. They go in there. The interrogation of Larry, where Walter's really just hung up on, we know this is your homework, Larry. Like, he comes in so collected, like he's just got this Cheshire Cat grin, like we got this kid by the balls. This will be so easy. But he only has one move, and he can't even quite get that out. It takes him like 45 seconds to start talking about Vietnam. And
he has the homework in an evidence bag. That's my favorite little touch.
Yeah.
So good. And the dude just immediately is just yelling, they're going to cut off your Johnson, Larry. And they're going to have your dick, man. And like, you just wonder, like, Larry is just this blank face, nothing. It says no words. Again, like, has no discernible mental activity. You wonder what on earth could he be making of this, knowing later on that there was no money in that briefcase. And so he has no idea what they're yelling about. But Walter very quickly gives up and goes outside pulls out a crowbar and starts trashing the vet while screaming, "This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps." And it turns out it's little Larry's neighbor who comes running out yelling, "I just bought that car. What are you doing?" So it's another misunderstanding. And the neighbor grabs the crowbar from Walter and runs over and starts smashing the dude's car with it. So, the dude's car once again is punished for our sins. And then we get the incredible smash cut to them driving down the freeway with the windshield busted, chomping on In-N-Out burgers.
Yeah. Also, definitely a joke I didn't get when I was young and had no idea what In-N-Out burger was because it was a West Coast thing. But
yeah, you had no idea that LA people overvalue In-N-Out burger against all reason.
Whoa, shots fired.
Yeah, well, take that, LA.
They're fine. They're I'm not going to complain. But
no, I'll eat one when I'm there.
I like In-N-Out burger. But
this movie has convinced me that every time for 20 years now, I've gone to LA and had an In-N-Out burger, I always expect it to be a little better than it is. And I think it's mainly this movie's fault.
This movie has added to the mystique of In-N-Out burger, hasn't it? Among many things, many of the cultural things that rose because of their mention in this, I think. Yeah,
White Russians.
Burger. Yeah, exactly.
White Russians, yeah. I drank White Russians in college until I realized what an absolute insane thing to be doing that was.
Yeah. Just like many White Russians on account of this film.
I think it resurrected a Kenny Rogers. What Condition My Condition Is In. He started like playing that in concert again after he hadn't for 20 years.
Oh, really?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I read that as an aside somewhere.
I'd be mad if I went to a Kenny Rogers and he didn't do that. I would think.
Yeah.
At this point, or is he still? He's not alive, is he? He's probably not doing it anymore.
No, I think he is very old.
Okay,
yeah.
Probably not touring.
Yeah. Oh, you know what we skipped over? We missed it.
Thulis.
I think
Thulis.
No, because I think we're about to go to Thulis. But before, right after we cut off your Johnson thing, we go back to the bowling alley, and that's where we have the encounter with Sam Elliott.
Oh, we definitely.
But that's where he's talking about they're going to cut off my Johnson. Like, I don't need your sympathy, Walter. I need my dick. Then. Donnie,
what do you need that for,
dude?
What do you need?
Another major crucial aspect of the masculinity conversation, that exchange.
But
what
do you
does
guys have
he
a
need
theory
a stick for? Yeah,
on the stranger, on Sam Elliott, because something new occurred to me this week that I don't know how it never did before.
Well, he's in a lineage with the metaphysical characters that appear in Coen Brothers films. for sure. I think the
clock guy
gag
and
is that
Hudsucker for sure.
yeah, I think the gag is he means nothing. Like there's no significance to him. He's a framing device in the context of this film, but all the things he's talking about are sort of just it just sort of very pat, very shallow observations, and that's kind of sort of the illusion of sort of gravitas.
My theory this time is that he is actually an acid flashback of the dudes. He mentions later about the occasional acid flashback, and the way he's introduced, the way it like zooms in, and the dude's sitting there kind of stewing, but you see him like kind of like change his eyes, like look around, like, oh, what's that? Like something has happened there, and of course, we never see him interact with anybody except for the dude and the off-screen bartender. That we never get to see Gary the bartender.
Well, he interacts with us though, separate of the dude. I mean, he is talking to us throughout the film.
In a way to explicitly do what you were talking about earlier, John, which is sort of validate the dude's laziness as a principled life choice that is important in some way.
As mythic, yes.
And that is exactly what the dude's subconscious would be selling him, you know?
Okay. Uh-huh. He's like, yeah, I am lazy, but hey, aren't we all lazy or something? Exactly, yeah.
I think I'm lazy in a way that, like, Gary Cooper would respect if he were still around.
I do think there's something funny, and I don't know that this is probably not on purpose, but the fact that Sam Elliott seems so out of place because he's this like cowboy, but he is actually from Sacramento. So Sam Elliott is like a California character, but he just seems like he's from Texas.
Yeah, he's just got the voice.
He's just got the voice for some reason. Like all Sacramentoans sound like that, I think. Until proven otherwise. Huh?
He's got voice for miles. Yeah, and you're right. He seems so out of place in the bowling alley, and yet, because it's LA, no one's ever that out of place.
Right.
Like no one, you don't have somebody dressed up as in Sam Elliott cowboy gear can walk into a bowling alley, and you're not going to have a ton of questions. Just, I don't know. Maybe you were on set sometime recently, or maybe you're just a weirdo. There's plenty of those.
Yeah, we got horse ranches up in the hills, obviously. So he is outside the narrative, though, in this way. He's mythical or a mystic figure. It's such a great framing device, and it's so iconic and memorable and perfect, and it's kind of the Sam Elliott role in a way, which is, I guess, in the way that it just uses all of his persona explicitly. Like this is, the mustache is a character unto itself. It is, it's so symbolic, but of what? What is the purpose of this mythic framing in The Big Lebowski? Because it explicitly rejects this meaning anything, like there's no greater point to any of this. That's sort of the whole point. And so why are they why are these Greek gods that we're dealing with again? That he's the most lazy man, the avatar of laziness. These characters have importance and sort of, nouns as names between the dude and the stranger. And they obviously do a lot of this kind of mythologizing of their characters in, from the most mundane to, the biker, the apocalypse, and Raising Arizona. It's just a piss take in this, though, as far as I can tell.
We also have the Jesus.
We do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time we see the stranger? Because he does the voiceover at the beginning.
Yes.
So there's something very funny about that, too, where it's like you hear this voiceover. And then one of the characters just runs into the guy that's doing the voiceover. Happens to run upon him. Like that's like, I don't know if I don't have a greater meaning to that, except that I just think that that's a very funny way to like suddenly introduce someone that you thought was just a voiceover.
I kind of love that he's an extension of the dude, actually, Al, because I mean, you can almost create a sort of mythology around that if you're with that in mind, because he's only corporeal in the bowling alley. Right. In the home base. That's the only time
he's totally team dude.
Yeah, well, he's omniscient. He sees everything the dude does and views it as a story.
Yeah, and generally approves of it,
Oh, yeah, I think it's great. I finally saw something great and it was worth it just because I saw something I couldn't understand. And it almost is like a second personality of the dude that is sort of observing and commenting on his life and the things that he's doing in the moment. And kind of putting a mythic framing on it.
Yes, and a more traditionally masculine one
Yes.
You know, if he has any anxieties about how his lifestyle makes him not a man.
I like this. This
the
is
stranger
great.
refutes that.
This is kind of explaining the mythic framing to me. Is that's kind of just how he sees himself subconsciously.
And even as I say this, though, I only buy that like 65%.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like,
it's not meant to be understood. Exactly.
Right. But this is something I think is important. Like, this movie is so shaggy. It's about how nothing fits together. Nothing, means anything in the end exactly, except we have things like this. There are such purposeful choices. It doesn't feel random. It doesn't feel sloppy because of this. Because these decisions are clearly so deliberate and strong. And I think that ties into too the as we left Ma Lebowski's in a limo. And once he gets out of there, the limo driver points out the VW bug behind him again, and he gets grabbed by another limo driver and thrown into a limo with Lebowski and Brandt, where they can berate him about stealing the money and show him the severed toe. Right, and that's where he's repeating the parlance of our times bit and mangling it, and that stuff I love in this movie, the repetition and co-option of language, where he's parroting stuff he's heard earlier. And I think that's more than just it's a fun gag, and it's a nice bit of character shading. But it knits things together. The scenes that the plot doesn't really connect, it connects them more, and it provides cohesion to a story about how all these pieces don't come together to make that much sense. But how everything's still kind of interwoven despite that. There's some structure and some design there that's underlined by the dude taking lines out of one scene and bringing them into another. It makes this all one story, if only because the dude wouldn't be saying this thing here if he hadn't overheard it over there earlier.
Yeah. It's taking what he likes and kind of repurposing it. It is sort of a verbal kind of pack mule or pack. I don't know. Pack rat, the one. Yeah, the rat. That's the one. It's sort of take what you find and see how you can use it later and repurpose it to another conversation.
Yeah. And it feels very real. It feels like something we all do. You don't see it, but like we all do it. We hear someone say a phrase and then you repeat it either on purpose or not.
Oh, I edit this podcast. I hear us do it all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I catch myself doing Johnisms on this podcast now. Yep. I recognize now.
Yeah. I mean, go back to my introduction when you asked me what it was about, and I just repeated what you said. I'm like, oh, yeah, nihilism,
Yeah, well.
It's also a big Tony Soprano move. I know you guys are big.
I was like, that's another thing, yes. It's just like a hotel at Captain Teebs.
But it's funny because in Sopranos, it's like,
whatever happened to Gary Cooper?
Sopranos, I think, does that really well. Also, that idea, Tony's constantly. I mean, the conceit there of that therapy allows him to like take things out of there and mangle them in other contexts in an amusing way. That is very similar to what the dude's doing.
So he's using it differently, whereas the dude's just like he's just picking things up because his brain is just big, and we're like Tony is like weaponizing everything that he hears and using it.
Sort of. It is kind of coded as sort of a low intelligence thing to do in both cases.
True. Yeah.
There's other parts we're way deep in the Sopranos weeds. There's parts, especially as that series goes on, where yes, Tony is very much weaponizing insights from therapy into mob warfare tactics, and then sometimes he's just confused as to what Captain Teeb is and thinks it's Captain Teeb, who probably runs a luxury resort, and that seems more in line with what the dude is. So we get the toe there, and we go from there to the coffee shop where Walter's ranting about the toe, and I can get to
real quick. I'm so sorry. I have to point out in that scene has the phrase "the dude abides," which has been my username for everything I've ever signed up for in my everything that has ever required a username since the time I was 13. My AIM screen name, "the dude abides."
I am shocked that still works these days. I think we would take it. I think you would have to do the dude abides 64 at this point.
There's numbers after it. There's always Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so he gets read The Riot Act by Lebowski and Brandt. Another great Hoffman mind reading on that had not occurred to us, dude. But
I got a question. Had it occurred to them? How did it? I don't think it had. I think that is a legitimate response from both of them. Oh yeah, maybe she did kidnap herself.
Yeah, I think it hadn't occurred to the Big Lebowski because he doesn't care. And it hadn't occurred to Brant because it hadn't been told to think about it. Like, but yeah, and that's, I mean, that Bridges doing the stammering explanation of all the new shit that has come to light without actually explaining anything.
Clip. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is an Oscar clip of all. I mean, it should be in a world where Oscars didn't discriminate against comedies. Okay, I don't know where we go from here now. Is anybody?
I think this is then, because when he's getting pulled out of the first limo, that limo driver pointed out the car behind him.
Yeah. So he gets pulled. Oh yeah, no, sorry. He get pulled in the second limo. Then they go to the coffee shop where they're talking about the toe.
Yeah.
And then
so he doesn't. It's not the other.
No, they give him the toe.
Bounty hunter.
No, that's later.
That's later. Okay.
That's after Jackie Treehorn. No, they give him the toe, and yeah, Walter and him meet and talk about the toe at the coffee shop.
And Walter is so. I mean, what's amazing about that? Walter, proven to be right that it is not her toe. He's dead set certain of that. That's a fake toe, or I mean, it's not fake toe. It's somebody else's toe. He pulls that out of nowhere. His confidence makes absolutely no sense for that.
Sublimated hate for his wife. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
And he turns out
he gets like so mad too when he hits the table and like turns in the way that you would get frustrated with someone you knew.
Yeah.
They send us a toe. We're supposed to shit ourselves with fear. It's like, yeah, that would be a pretty reasonable
How
reaction.
many boys died face down in the mud in Quezon? Yeah, it's just God damn it. It's so good.
I think I don't know where we go from there, but
it must be time.
It must be time for him to get beaten up again. And now do we go from there to Jackie Treehorn's?
Well, we missed the Knox Harrington scene. We mixed the Knox Harrington scene. Is in there somewhere.
That has to come after Jackie Treehorn, right?
No, it doesn't. That's where he finds out about Uli Kunkel and Autobahn.
We go we don't go back to Maud that quickly, do we?
Yeah, we go back to Maud. I mean, there's really like 2 scenes with her in the whole film. It's it's definitely before Jackie
Treehorn. There's 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it goes back to see the doctor. Yeah.
Well, the second time is then he goes and sees the doctor.
Okay.
God damn it.
And that's where you get, Stephen Thewlis says Knox Harrington. The thing I love about this scene and this character is the anecdote that basically the Coens wrote this scene and were unhappy with how it's just an exposition download of Maud explaining to the dude who the nihilists are and whatnot. And so they just invented this Thewlis character to sit there and be weird and just give the scene a different...
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Give the scene a different flavor.
That's funny. And it worked. It distracted me. Yeah. I think that was one of the things that, like, growing up and, like, watching this movie in high school and not really understanding the plot but not caring as much is because that scene explains so much. And I was so off-put and distracted by this weird laughing guy that I'm like, I was probably missing this explanation that was happening that tied a couple things together. Tied the room together.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We also didn't discuss log jamming the Jackie Treehorn.
Of course.
What happens next? He fixes the cable.
Yeah. I really want to because
the writing is ludicrous.
Yes, the story is ludicrous. No, the only thing I want to mention about this, it's not the most quotable line, but the one that runs through my head almost like as frequently as anything from this movie is, "That's why they call me. I am expert." And I have to resist the urge to say that anytime I'm doing like I'm tasked with like changing a light bulb around the house or fixing like a doorknob or something, and I inside my head it's just going on. Well, I am expert. Okay, so eventually the dude's lying on his rug again, his new rug, smoking a joint, sorry.
They steal the rug early on.
The rug's gone now.
Punch him in the face.
And now he is. Oh, yeah, it's after the Larry part.
He's installing the door break. Is what he's doing.
Yes, he's badly nailing this board into the ground in front of his door.
This is my favorite joke in the whole fucking movie, by the way.
It's so good.
Amazing. This is, of course, he's installing a door jam so he can keep people from breaking into his home, but he forgot that his door opens outward. And so once he's breaking,
it's all for nothing.
With the chair, immediately somebody just opens it the other way and it falls over.
Yeah, it's the Treehorn porn star goons again. Yeah. My favorite part of that is the one-sided like Bob Newhart conversation with Walter, where he's going on. Yeah. No, Walter, I don't think it looked like Larry was about to crack. And so they take him to see Jackie Treehorn, who's the pornographer. The other like incredible just visual gag is the one bit of like detective work the dude does the entire time. Jackie Treehorn gives him a drink, is asking him where Bunny is, and he doesn't know where. He gets a phone call, starts scribbling something down, and says, "Excuse me." And the dude hustles over, maybe the fastest we ever see him move the whole movie, to like go over to the notepad and shade in to try and like deduce what note he just wrote down, and it's just a crude sketch of a guy with a giant penis.
It's so good.
It is. Might be my favorite joke from any movie. It's because it's so. Everything builds to this most like it was like the Coen brothers like it's like okay, things are really happening now and the dude's really getting a handle on things and like this is like such a like we're in the third act of the movie practically, and they throw like one of the goofiest jokes you'll ever see in a Coen brothers movie. I think it's just chef kiss, like perfect.
Well, I think this is Ethan Coen. I believe it's the one who did Drive Away Dolls. I think this is his doing. The dildo bike really? Burn after reading.
You think it's not the one who did Hamlet?
Yeah. This whole sequence, the Jackie Treehorn 5 minutes of this film is unbelievable. I love this so much. The intro into this scene. The lady on the trampoline, the naked woman on the trampoline, very man show thing, but it's undercut by this weird 60s music, and then it kind of pans out into like a Wicker Man sex party. Mm-hmm. And then Jackie Treehorn look straight out of it, right to the camera. And then, it sort of looks in the camera as if we are the dude, POV, cut to this like Star Trek sex lounge that he lives in with the sunken couches and shit. This whole segment is just like, it goes so far. It does so much to establish this character that means nothing. That is like gone out of the film, no longer important after this. But it's just perfect Raymond Chandler shit, especially with that the dick drawing bit of a digression there in the center. This isn't one of the best moments of the film, I think, and it's also one of the most extraneous.
No, it is. And the way he runs back to the couch and like sits is so ridiculous. And the
way he cocks his head at the dick drawing. In the that should also be in the Oscar reel.
It outros into just getting in to see what condition my condition is in, which is
he's been drugged, so he has a hallucinatory dream, a sex dream about Maude that it transitions from sex into bowling because that's the dude's real love.
And there's also Saddam Hussein and maybe a little bit of the Ring cycle in there. It's wild. There's some of the best dream sequences, Al, in movies. I'm sorry.
It's good, but his wild eyes as he's dancing in this are, I think, the best part of it by far. Anyway, but we're almost getting to the third act. If this movie has a third act,
I think we're entering the third act at this point.
You see, he comes out of it running down the highway and gets pulled over by the Malibu police and goes to see the chief of police of Malibu. Jackie Treehorn, one scene character that we all remember
so incredible. I don't like your jerk off face. I don't like your jerk off behavior, and I don't like you jerk off. Sorry, I wasn't listening.
He's got the perfect retort to that. Yeah. It just completely deflates it. That's like with the dude,
That's his anti-establishment thing. That's his, old hippie shit, coming out. Yeah.
But it's the pacifist version of it. Like the actual Philip Marlowe would be more of a tough guy about it. There's nothing tough guy about that. It's just dismissing. And also maybe sincere that he's still very fucked up. Probably didn't get it.
Yeah. He's heard this speech before from a million different cops.
That's true. He could fill in the blanks himself.
throws the coffee mug and nails him directly in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Keep your ugly fucking gold brick and hash out of my beach community. So good.
And then
Jackie Treehorn draws a lot of water. You don't draw dick, Lebowski.
But Jackie Treehorn actually does draw dick in the scene before.
I never even put that together.
I didn't either until just now. I think that's an intentional pun. Who knows? But he takes a cab home from the Malibu police station. That's where we get the "I hate the fucking Eagles, man" thing. Yeah, as much as this movie did for White Russians and In-N-Out Burger, it savaged the Eagles. I think probably like I think they were hurt almost as bad as like Merlot sales were after Sideways. By this.
Well, Jeff Bridges says that Glenn Fry has confronted him at parties about it. And Jeff Bridges has been like, look, it was just a character, man. I didn't write that.
But it's funny. It's like
he'd be way into Take It Easy too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dude's opinion, at least on classic rock, carries weight. I think like
That's true.
with all of us.
The idea too, the fact that the cab driver got so upset and physically throws him out of the cab is so funny.
Yeah. Have you guys heard have you guys heard the story about they tell about how they wanted to use the version of Dead Flowers at the end for the end credits of this movie. They're getting, but at the time the Rolling Stones were really charged an arm and a leg to use any of their songs, and it was like the rights were held by some business manager of theirs that was kind of a pit bull and was known for being really difficult to work with. But the Coens really wanted to use this Stone song and didn't want to pay $500,000 for it, so they convinced the guy to come watch like the rough cut of the movie with them. And to try and like sweet talk him. He said that he sat there with his arms crossed like through the whole first hour of the movie until it got to the I hate the fucking Eagles line. And then he bust out laughing and said, all right, you guys can have it.
That's great.
If that story is not true, then it's great. I want to keep it circulating.
I think it's true.
Okay. So he goes home and trips over the board that he nailed down, of course.
And we see Tara Reid drive by after he gets, and it's established that she has the toes.
Yes, that it was indeed not her toes.
Quick Tarantino-inspired shot of
a
woman's feet, and then
that's a Tarantino moment, not just for the feet either. It's also got Viva Las Vegas going. Yeah, that's
that is even the Viva Las Vegas. Yeah.
But
we're not going to say a lot about Tara Reid's performance in this, but
the best work of her career.
Excellent bad singing along with Viva Las Vegas.
That's the thing. Like Tara Reid's in one of the best movies ever made here. Look at this. You know, like,
that's true.
Yeah.
And she is good in the few lines that she has. She is good.
Yeah.
Like she's not winning Oscars, but she's.
I'll suck your cock for $1,000. Brant can't watch.
Brant can't watch her. He has to pay $100. That's.
You get the sense there that he did watch once, and she regrets not charging him. Anyway, so Maud Lebowski's there, and his house has been trashed by Jackie Treehorn. While they got him out of the house, they turned the place over looking for the money. She comes out, drops his robe, and says, "Make love or love me." So they sleep together, and post coitus.
In the parlance of our times. Yes.
Yes, in the parlance. She is then explaining to him, one, it comes out that she wanted to conceive with somebody who she would not have to see socially or have to fight with over custody at all. And that's why she picked the dude. But also she, as they're going over it, the case, such as it is, she explains to him that no, her father doesn't have any money of his own. And he works on the board of this charitable trust with her, but they don't let him do much, and he doesn't, and he lives on allowance from her. And this unlocks the case in the dude's mind. He calls up Walter and says, "We got to go confront the Big Lebowski." So off they go. But Polito's out there first. We have the quick confrontation with Polito. Another thing that could be lifted right out of the movie, but then we wouldn't get the great line about, "Man, how are you going to keep her down on the farm once you sing Carl Hungus?"
This is a great little moment. I think Polito, this is, aside from Miller's Crossing, he's had bigger roles in other films and in Coen films. And this is kind of like still one of my favorite things he's done for them. Just this little 3 minutes here. He comes out and Brother Seamus, and he's got
like an Irish monk.
Oh, your work. I'm so impressed playing one side against the other. Oh, just so good. And the look he gets on his face was like, "Stay away from my special lady. I'm trying to help her conceive." And he's just like, I don't want to.
He's one of the. He gets to deploy one of the many, many, many. What the fuck are you talking about? Lines in this movie, which goes to the themes of confusion, I suppose. But also, I just love the physicality between the two of them as he's hauling him out of the car, but neither of them can decide who's more scared of the other one physically. Great stuff.
The picture that the Knudsens want to show Buddy to get her to come is a desolate wasteland.
Yeah. It's so Ansel Adams. Like, yeah. Anyway, we're getting to the end, right? Where are you?
Yeah. We're really close. Okay. Okay. So what we're finishing up here. She didn't even kidnap herself. He figures it out. He figures out that Lebowski stole the money, essentially, and he calls Walter up to get him to come with him to confront Lebowski in Pasadena. And it is, of course, Shomer Shabbos, the day of rest. So Walter can't do it unless it's an emergency, and that will just be the thing he talks about for the rest of the movie.
I believe it's Erev Shabbos. He is Shomer Shabbos because it is Erev Shabbos, is how I understand it now.
Fair enough. I
watched the Elliot Gould Long Goodbye this morning. And,
sure.
That one, the one like bit of like color that gave to this is, there's the Marty Augustine, the like Jewish gangster in that movie, also talks about being Erev Shabbos, and that's why part of why he's so upset to be dealing with Philip Marlowe in that one. Like, that's how they got that over into this movie somehow.
That definitely that's the only other film that really you can. It's probably the only other Raymond Chandler satire out there, right?
I don't know. Does it even rise to the level of satire? It is certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it's more, it's less than this probably, but I mean, it's definitely like, well, what if we deconstruct the central figure in a way? You know, he's a completely he's outside of his element in that. You know, like that's the idea. He's sort of the quintessential Chandler figure in this post 60s kind of LA, right? That's the.
Yeah, I think of it as more of an updating than a deconstruction necessarily. But I think that's probably because I don't have as much firsthand exposure to the original stuff. Noir, like hard-boiled noir detective stuff, is a thing where it feels to me like maybe there is more now, or just I've been exposed to more like riffs or parodies on the thing than actual pure blood examples of the thing. That's
all they do in our lifetimes. That's all they make is parodies of it, really.
Yeah, the Always Sunny episode where Charlie is the Philip Marlowe guy, you know.
Or Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I mean, you know, it's all kind of variants on, you know, the thing that was established and played out as a genre before our births. So,
yeah,
right,
including this film. So yeah.
Well, maybe that's a way that this is, though, an updating it in a weird way. It ties into the war stuff that's hard to make sense of. But the thing that I understand about noir is that it is, in some part, a reflection of people bringing the darkness of the world wars home with them and processing it on the home front and blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
This is, the Big Lebowski is, these guys are, it's updating that from the world wars to the Vietnam era. And Walter and the dude are carrying that around with them.
Huh. How about that? That's cool. That's great.
It's cool. Is it anything? I don't know.
I mean, it's clever.
Maybe it's
in a
just
way
a sketch of a dick.
I don't know. Any insight into where this all came from is really fascinating to me because, I mean, as much as we struggle to kind of be like, well, this is what the Big Lebowski means. This is why it's so great. It's also very evident, you know, just that it is great, and that enough people have found this movie that is sort of undeniably one of the great comedies at this point, culturally.
Well, as I say, part of that is it's so cohesive, despite all of these disparate elements and things not adding up right. Like, yes, it does. It feels so deliberate. That is something that maybe not everybody who started drinking White Russians afterwards could articulate directly, but they feel it on some way. There is something here, and it's done purposefully. I mean, the question for me, I'm interested. How did you come up with this story? It is.
Well, that's the thing.
For as much as this is a Chandler riff, it feels so original.
Well, it's certainly original, but I mean, I think that what you're talking about right there, like the Vietnam War instead of, you know, World War II being sort of the thing, the crucible that formed these characters in a way, that's amazing. That's really cool. And I think that speaks to where it came from, is they're making that connection. You know, and then taking it in a different direction. Be like, well, he wasn't a veteran though. Like, I mean, Walter is, sure, but you know, he's still a guy that was formed by Vietnam in absentia.
Yeah.
You know, he's a hippie.
And we have to explain his life story to Maud, or even sort of to Brandt earlier. That is, he goes right to the 60s to explain himself, not anything.
Well, of course,
he's been doing lately.
Mm-hmm.
That and the Speed of Sound tour, obviously. All right, so now we're confronting the Big Lebowski, right?
Yeah, and Bunny returns. You know, she didn't even kidnap herself.
The car is like crashed in the driveway.
Still blaring Viva Las Vegas, which suggests that she was just listening to it on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like that's a dangerous high that she was on. Yeah, and so they go in there, and Walter, of course, takes everything even further. He confronts them, saying, you embezzled this money from the urban achievers, and you got me to do the handoff because you knew I would fuck it up and nobody would care in the square community about me. And that great response of, well, aren't you? Well, yeah. Like, of course no. But then you also get, I think maybe my funniest line of the movie is Walter yelling, as if we'd ever dream of taking your bullshit money. Like, he himself had hatched the entire plan to steal all the money.
What happens, man? There's a lot of like kind of dangling plot threads about like, well, how does that actually resolve in this? The way we leave this is Big Lebowski just has the $1 million and everyone knows he took it, case, right? Like, yeah. I mean,
there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
And Walter tries to prove that he's not actually handicapped, and which is another great tag because they're so right. They finally figured everything out. They're finally on the right side. They've got everything, and then he just has to take it one more step and say, well, I don't think this guy is actually, and lifts him out of the wheelchair. And of course he collapses. And it's like, you were so close to being 100% right about everything.
Yeah, I always thought that is just such a perfect gag that the movie has built up to so well. But now I'm looking at it going, you know what? That ties everything together for me. That is the
yeah, that's really good.
They're convinced they solved the case. They saw the secret plumbing of the universe, and now they get it all. And they still and that what that gag demonstrates is they figured out all the secret ins and outs, and they're still wrong and idiots and fucked up, and it doesn't help them at all. And they don't get any money out of it, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they shame him. I guess is the best they get out of it. But
no, but even Walt, they have to leave that scene shamed that they came to shame him with because of that.
Do not get any high ground in leaving.
And so I guess what we've discovered is that Bunny Lebowski just decided to take off to Palm Springs for a while. As she's maybe
her friends, Carl Hungus and the Nihilists, know about that. The Nihilists
know that she has done that and decide to take advantage of that by trying to pretend that she's been kidnapped and extort some money out of the Big Lebowski.
Unbeknownst to
the Big Lebowski then sees that as an opportunity to embezzle money from the charity and not pay it off, and then hire it all and pin it all on the dude. And also, she owed money to Jackie Treehorn simultaneously, and he was trying to track her down to get paid back. But that's unrelated to any of that stuff I just talked about. And also, her parents hired Polito to try and bring her back to the farm.
Yeah, the Knutsons.
Also unrelated to it. It's kind of unrelated to all that. So there's like 5 different sort of layers of scams almost.
Now, Maud is aware of what happened. And her point is, well, we're not going to get the police involved. So they probably just brushed this up, I'm guessing. Maybe he has to pay back the money or return it in some fashion. Maybe not. It doesn't really, it's kind of outside the purview of the story.
Yeah. Which I guess the story hasn't wrapped up yet because we haven't done the final confrontation with the Nihilists either. So, yeah, back to the bowling alley.
Well, yeah, that's after you've solved the thing and kind of left a little bit more shamed than you could have been. What's the natural thing to do? Go bowling.
Let's go bowling.
And as they leave the bowling alley after their latest match or practice, I guess it probably is, the Nihilists have now burned the dude's car entirely and are saying they're another the use of soundtrack that is like not obviously diegetic, but once you notice that it's diegetic, it becomes really funny. It's great in this, like the opera thing earlier, and the fact that the German techno is blasted. Like one of them, the Steel Merchant guy, is actually holding a boombox, playing Autobahn's presumably their synth pop record. Because they thought that would be more intimidating. Is tremendous. I think I probably didn't really put that together. Couldn't tell what he was holding for the first 10 times I saw this movie. But it's great. They have the confrontation there. They're demanding the money, and the dude and Walter have to explain, we know you never had the girl. There is nobody to ransom. We don't have the money anyway. And finally decide, fine, we'll take the money on you. We're just robbing you now. And Walter says, no, fuck you. Come get it. And he basically fights off all three of them and defeats them. But in the process, Donnie has a heart attack and dies just because he's not, too beautiful for this world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is odd. And I love that it just transitions into making jokes about it immediately. That's funny. But it's also kind of like, so yeah, they could have just given him like the like $50 collectively that they were holding to get there and just remove this entire situation. But once again, because Walter, who, is correct in that these are weak men who he can beat up. If he had just given them the money, then Donnie's fine, right? I mean,
presumably, yes.
It's another it's another big L that they've just sort of managed to stumble their way into unnecessarily. Yeah,
it's almost like they are trying hard to like wrap this up in a way that resolves everything, but doesn't allow Walter any wins.
Yeah, I mean, and again though, like Donnie is clearly the number 3 and not like the long-term friendship that the other two have, so he feels a little bit more expendable to them, which is kind of savage and dark in a way, but it's also but
it's lighter in that if it had been Walter who died, if he got sabered to death by the nihilist, then you wouldn't get the feel. You couldn't have like the dude and Donnie continuing on as the bowling team. It would feel like this world had ended. We had spent so much time and lived it, but Walter and the dude can still have that bowling team. They're probably not going to make the semis next year, but it doesn't feel like this world that we have, this insular world we've been invited into, has ended because of Donnie's death.
No, there'll be like another guy. There'll be another guy played by Tim Blake Nelson on the team next year named Ronnie.
That's perfect.
That's it.
But we get the great scene at the mortician's office and the wonderful line about it's our most modestly priced receptacle. And then Walter's travesty of a eulogy on the bluff over the ocean, leading to the great visual gag of trying to scatter the ashes into the wind that blows them back onto the dude, which is also an amazing visual pun that Donnie's remains end up out of their element, in that they were supposed to go into the water and they end up in the air.
Damn it! I never got that. That's intentional. It seems
Walter's softest moment there too, when he does it, and his genuine like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry." And he's like kind of like wiping it off. I think it's like, it's like the first thing he's really felt bad about.
Yeah,
yeah. His apologies are genuine there when he's saying sorry to the dude.
He's kind of lost and feels like he fucked up, and they hug. I love that. That somehow gets me somehow. The weird kind of trailing off that this movie does, there's 15 minutes after the confrontation with the Big Lebowski that ostensibly closes the narrative on the film. And then stuff kind of just keeps happening. You think once Donnie's dead, that's the end of the movie. No, we're going to the mortician. Then we're going to the bluff. Then we're back to the bowling alley. And it doesn't feel padded, of course, because, we're not really here for the plot. We're here for the individual scenes, I guess. But it's all of a whole, and you can't change a frame of it either. This is all legendary stuff too at this point. The ash going into his face on the bluff. Well, he talks about
we are still making it out in under 2 hours, just by a hair too. That is important to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this movie couldn't. This it would be a tragedy if this movie ever felt long.
Yeah, and if it was 90 seconds longer, it might.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've been recording longer than the film is at this point.
We'll probably have to release this in 2 parts.
And I'm going to cut it down. I'm going to be mercenary with it. But I don't know. We'll see how long it takes us to get through the last 90 seconds of the film.
We already did our stranger bit, so I don't know that. I mean, his final narration has that much more to talk about.
Well, it's optimistic. It is looking to the future with positivity and hope, which is almost a surprise. realistically, the dude's prospects for the future are not looking particularly great. He doesn't have rent. He doesn't have a car. He doesn't have a job. I don't know where they land.
And yet he says things worked out pretty well for the dude and Walter, which almost makes me wonder after watching it 40 times, like, wait, did they end up with some money somehow? Because I don't think they did.
No.
I think it's pretty bad for them.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're all right. They worked out. They're still bowling, and I guess that's a win in and of itself. Although, I don't know, maybe the cops will want to talk to him in the near future about what went on. They're probably liable for busting up that car at minimum. I imagine the cops got called right after that scene ended. It's kind of brilliantly cut away from, so we don't have to see that resolution. We just go straight to the In-N-Out burger.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a magical universe, so I guess things probably did work out fine for him in the end.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's what you get from this. Nobody can take down the dude.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
right.
Not the police.
I like to think of it as like, this is like one of many adventures. Like, again, I'm glad we've never seen a sequel or they haven't, but it's like, this is as much as this is not that out of the ordinary for these two weirdos who just get themselves caught up in these situations. This is probably the extreme example, but I like to think that they just continue to get themselves in trouble. And
well, Walter's not calming down after this. There's going to be something. I think it's more along the lines of the Smokey.
I'm calm, dude. Calmer than you. Yeah. That's one of my favorite Walter moments. Not to like walk us back after we're over 2 hours in, but like when he's like telling Walter to calm down, he's like, I'm calm. I'm calm. Calmer than you. It's such a frustrating, like,
finish my coffee.
It is them as just a total old married couple. That's so a move that I would pull on my wife if we were arguing. And
I'm just saying. You're the one. Yeah.
Except now because of this movie, I would know what a dick move it was. But anyway,
yeah, try it out. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah. I'll be taking a leave of absence from the next 3 episodes of the Coen-Oscopy. No, so that's the Big Lebowski, big shaggy dog of a story. I think we got through all the scenes eventually.
It's kind of a movie with more power than I think even it's more than the sum of its parts. I guess I'd say This has a cumulative effect. It's really funny, of course. I don't think that needs to be that can't be overstated, really. But it's beyond that. I mean, this kind of just gets under your skin and has the potential to become your personality for a series of years as you're growing up.
I mean, what's the version of getting under your skin in a comfortable way? It's very relaxing.
It's a film that means an enormous amount to me and to so many other people. It's kind of crazy. There's nothing else like it. Not even The Long Goodbye. You can't really point to another film that this reminds you of, other than maybe other Coen Brothers films. But even in that context, it sort of stands on its own. One of the great original films.
Yeah, it's not nearly as manic as most of their other, goofy comedies, and it's so much more relaxed than all their other movies about chaos and confusion of existence and how nothing means anything that we are capable of discerning with our frail human minds.
Yeah, I mean, all that's there, but I feel like the thesis of Big Lebowski is, and it won't bother you unless you let it.
Yeah. Okay, go bowling.
Yeah. Find your peace in the world. Okay, we're done, right? This is the end of Big Lebowski. Okay. I don't know. One last line that stuck with you forever. I'll tell you mine. You're not wrong, Walter, but you're an asshole. I think of that daily. I have context to think of that all the time.
I think it's. You got to look for the person who will benefit, and you'll whatever. That's
what's going on.
Appearances can be deceptive. Tom, I was just speculating about a hypothesis. I know I don't know nothing.
Uncertainty. That is appropriate for matters